Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So in this video I'm going to show you guys how to make this top, so this dress. So first thing I did here is to draft out. You have a basic pattern, that is if you want to mix your colors, like how she has the color by the shoulder and then by the bottom part. So I'm just going to be doing the part of the shoulder, but the rest of my dress will be just one color. And then if you also for the bottom part here, so you need a pattern paper. So the rest of my dress will be just one color. And then if you also for the bottom part here, so you need a pattern paper. So what I did here is just your basic bodice is what. So guys, like I was saying, all you need is just a basic bodice pattern. So you come down 1 inch here, insert your armhole, give it a curve, your bust divided by 4. So that is what I marked here. I'm going to go ahead and add my seam allowance here. So I'm going to add like 1 inch of sewing allowance. And then I'm going to come down to my waist. As you can see, I've already added my darts. All I did is to come in here, nipple to nipple divided by 2 plus half an inch, 4.5. I came down here also 4.5, marked distance of 4.5 from here, marked a straight line in the middle. And then I did half an inch on this side, half an inch on this side, 2 inches before my hip line. This is my hip line. And then my nipple line is somewhere here, but I did 1 inch before my nipple line. That is where my dart at the top here stopped. So from my shoulder to 13, my shoulder to nipple is the 12, and then shoulder to 13 is where I stopped, which is 1 inch before the nipple line. So coming down to the waist, what I'm going to do is my waist divided by 4. This part here, I'm going to add 2 inches because of 1 inch of darting is that here and 1 inch of side seam allowance. Go down to the hip divided by 4, which is 12 for me. I'm going to also go ahead and add 1 inch of sewing allowance, and that is it. So from this point here now, all I have to do is just to connect from the waist to the hip, and then from the waist to the bust. And just like that, my bodice is ready. So all I have to do is just to go ahead and you can go ahead and cut this out. So guys, this is what I'm working with. So I'm going to go ahead and cut out the back neckline. So I'm just going to cut out this 1 inch for back neckline. And then you see there's 1 inch and there's 3 inch. So I'm going to cut out the back neckline so I can be able to trace the back pattern. And then I'll come back and trace out the front panel. Guys, I put the paper. Now I'm going to trace the back panel first before we cut anything. So now I'm just going to trace out all the sides. So guys, now this is it here. I've traced out the back panel. And just the same thing we did here, but I added 1 inch at the back, center back for my zipper. So now I'm going to go ahead and remove the paper, and then we can go ahead and cut off the part that we need to cut off on this here. So let me open it up. I didn't have paper, so I'm trying to manage what I have here. So what you're going to do is, when you open it up, the first thing you're going to do is like from the center part here, because if you look at her own, you see that the colored part from the shoulder came from the center here. So I'm going to find a way to blend it in just from this center here and then to somewhere about like maybe let's say 6 inches down or 7 inches down from the tip of the shoulder on this side. So let's say from this point to about 7 inches, and then I'm going to just find a way to like find the center of my neckline, which is here, and then I've marked it, and then I'm going to find a way to blend it in from the neckline. But remember, this is just the front, right? This is for the back. So if I mark it, the first line here, guys, you might need to go ahead and trace this twice, like one for the front, one for the back, because it might be difficult to do it this way. So for the back neckline, which is higher here, and remember, it's still going to have zipper allowance, so it might look something like this for the back. And then for the front, which is this 3 inches of neck depth, and then this is halfway through it, that one will look something like this one here. It's going to look like this. You see, both of them came down to this point here. The one at the top here is the 1 inch of neckline, right? And it came to this point here. The one at the bottom part here, although it's here, but you're still going to go ahead and blend this into like this. You understand? you're going to find a way to blend it in like this. So this is what we're going to be cutting out on this here. So if you remember, because we're going to still cut off this 3 inch of neck depth, right? So let me go ahead now. First, I'm going to try to use this here to cut the one for my back, and then I'm going to come back again and try to use it to cut the one for the front neckline. Guys, you see, this is what it would normally look like if I go ahead to cut this now, right? That's including the just like this. I'm going to remove all this part here and trace it out on a different color fabric. For me, I'm trying to use black. So you see what I did here? The first one, I folded it away. This is still the second line, but just so that I can use the same paper, after I trace the one for the back panel, which is the one that is going to start by the center, let me open it again. You see the first one that we marked, this is the second one for the front neckline. So we're still dealing with the back. All I did was just to go ahead and fold this here, and then place it back on the paper again, just like this. Place it back on the paper again. So now I'm going to mark this line, mark this straight line on my paper, but I'm going to add like half an inch on it before I cut this piece off. So guys, this is it here. I've marked it exactly like how this looks here, but I'm going to go back in and add like half an inch here before I cut it off, right? So I'm going to add half an inch on this side here. You see, this is one side of my back panel. This is the one that is going to remain the way it is. This is the one I'm cutting off from one side. So I'm going to go ahead and mark this here, and the same side I'm maintaining on this back panel is what I'm still going to maintain on the front panel. So you see, this is my actual line here, and then this is the half an inch I'm going to join to the other piece of it here. So let me go ahead and cut this piece out, this part out now. Guys, this is the same thing I did here. So to trace out the other half of it, I placed this upper part of it again, just that small part, the upper one again on the paper, just like we traced it before. Added half an inch to the bottom. Every other thing still remains the same, the side, the inner parts here. The only part I added half an inch is just this part that is going to meet this part, you know. So now I'm going to go ahead and remove it here. You see, the same part, all I traced is just this upper part here, right? So now I'm going to go ahead and this part here, I'm going to join it to this here. So half an inch of this is going to join to half an inch of this here, right? Just like this. I'm going to use half an inch to join half an inch to this here, and then I'm going to cut off the excess here. So guys, as you can see, we've gone ahead and added this one here. You see the seam allowance that I used to add this here. So if I open it up now, you see the back on this side, it has this black here, you see, attached on this side. So this is my back panel here, right? Remember, my 1 inch of seam allowance for the zipper is still going to be tucked in, so it's going to look something like this at the back here, right? So now the next thing we are going to do is, like, the back is done. All I have to do is just to go ahead now and add this dart that we have here. I'm going to transfer it on this, except this time around the dart is going up to the chest line because this is the back panel. The dart I have here is just for the front. The dart for the back is going to be the same point at the hip, 2 inches before the hip, but up here it's going to go up to your chest line, which is this armhole line here. So let me set this aside. Now to cut the front, what we are going to do is that this line that we marked now, you see, we are done with the first line. If you look, you see this first line that we made, we are done with it. Now, what we are going to do is, first of all, we are going to go ahead and cut 3 inches for the neck depth. After cutting the 3 inch for the neck depth, then we can go back in and deal with the second line. So now, this time around, we can't cut the two, we can't cut it on a fold. You might need to go back in and even if you cut it on a fold, you still have to open it to remove half of it, right? So, like, let's say you decide to cut everything, this front panel, on a fold like this. After you're done, you're going to separate it, open it up like this, so that way you can be able to cut off this part here. So guys, this is what I did. I first traced out my front panel, you see, traced it out on a fold, right? Everything is the same. If I fold it back, everything remains the same. So after that, the next thing I did was that I went ahead and folded this into two like this, right? I folded it on that line. If you want, you can cut yours off. So I just took that same line, the second line, which is the one for this one here. Remember, the initial one was for the back. Now the second line here, which is for the front, I folded it into two like this. And meanwhile, when I was cutting my neckline, when I came down to this part here, I left like half an inch by the neckline. So let me open it so you will see. You see what I did at the neck here? I left like half an inch at this upper part here, just because I know that I'm going to use it for this half an inch to join this part here. So that is what you're seeing here. So this is the initial line here of where it's supposed to be. But then this is my half an inch, which I'm going to be cutting just on one piece here. Just this piece. This side here is going to attach to this shoulder here. This one here is attaching to this shoulder. So this is the one that I'm supposed to switch to black. So let me go ahead now and trace this out. So guys, this is what I need here. You see, I've gone ahead and cut out this part here. So you see the same line, and then there's half an inch attached to the half an inch of joining it. So now I'm going to go ahead and remove it. If you look at it, you see that I have a little piece of like half an inch at this end here, and a little piece coming out at this end here. This is because what I'm joining is not like a straight line. So I like to leave excess on the two ends in case if it's too much, I can always go back and trace it out, right? So now this is what I'm going to do. To this side here, the side that we already cut out, this other side, this is supposed to be joined together like this, right? So what I'm going to do is go ahead, open it up like this, and then I'm going to take this side here, just like this, and use half an inch to join it. After joining it, I'm going to then iron it down, place the two of them together, and trim off any excess. So just like this, I'm going to join this side to it using half an inch, just like this. And then I'm going to come back in and remove this excess by the neckline, and then go back in by the armhole and remove the excess by the armhole. That's what I was telling you, that I like to leave some room in case if it's too much, but it's better to be much than to be less. So when I'm done now, I'm going to cut off this little part here, and then I'm going to cut off this little part here. So let me go back in and use half an inch to join. Guys, you see, I've gone ahead and joined it to this side here. You see, this is the side that I joined it to. This is the other side of it here. So all I have to do now is, you see, I've gone ahead and trimmed off any excess by the neckline. All I have to do now is just, you know how we normally take away like half an inch from the front neckline by the armhole like this. So I'm just going to go in now and just take away like half an inch in here, so that the fabric in front will not bulk up. So that is what I'm going to just cut off some of this piece here. So I'm going to cut off this part that I've marked, and then I'm going to go ahead and take the shoulder to shoulder, join it on this side, and then I'm also going to join the other side together. Guys, to cut our sleeve, because that's the next thing we have to do, this is what I'm working with. Just get your piece of paper. You can do it on your fabric if you want to, but it will be better to do it on your piece of paper because you save more fabric. So all you have to do is come down 4 inches. So what I have here is like 5 inches. From here to here, it's 5 inches. Then I came down 4 inches for my cap height, which is basically your sleeve, your cap height. After the 4 inches, what you're going to do is from this point here to this point, you see, I'm going to connect from here to here, just like how you normally draft your basic sleeve. And then I'm going to find halfway through this line, and then give it a curve above it this way, and then give it a curve below this way. If you want, you can use the curve part of your ruler to draw out your curve, right? So you're going to give it a curve from this point here to the upper part, and then you're going to give another curve from the lower part. I already have detailed tutorial on how to cut a cap sleeve. So the next thing we are going to do now is that from here, I'm going to bring this down like this, just like this, right? So this part here is going to now be my sleeve. So all I have to do, just from this line I brought it down, is now that I'm going to go ahead now. So I'm going to cut from here, draft it up this way, cutting on the line all the way to the top, and then I'm also going to cut off this part here. So that is it. So I'm going to cut off this also. I'm going to be left with just 4 inches. This extra 1 inch that I have at the bottom here, I'm going to remove it. But if you want to have the perfect cap sleeve, what you will normally do is that you can also go up here 1 inch and then blend it into this line. So like you go up at the center part here by 1 inch, and then blend it down into the length of your sleeve, just like this. But I don't want to do that. So I just want to maintain my straight line. So I'm going to go ahead and cut from here down. So all I have to do is just go to my fabric now. This is on a fold. I'm going to trace 2 of these here. one for this fabric, and then one for my Akara fabric. So once you cut it, you're going to cut a lining for each of them, right? This one now, you're going to turn it over with lining. So let's say this is the second piece of it. You're going to sew close the bottom part. So you've cut it out on a lining, and then you have the main cloth. Place the two of them right side facing each other, and then you're going to sew close the bottom part. You're going to do, like I was telling you before, you're going to take your sleeve, this is it here, and then you're going to cut lining that is almost the same as that, and then you're going to join it at the bottom part. Once you're done, you folded it this way, and then what you're going to do is that you're going to take it and join it to the armhole. You'll notice that it doesn't get to the end, right? So whatever is left, you're going to use your bias to complete it, right? Or if you're working with lining, you can also use that to turn it over. So if you see on this side here, immediately after joining it, the rest of it here, I use lining to turn it over all the way to the armhole, and then I closed it up. So that's how you're going to do it. Take your sleeve the way it is now. You see the part I notched? I'm going to take this part here, join it to the shoulder, and then sew it all the way down. Wherever it stops, like let's say as I'm sewing it, it stops here. The next thing is going to be to take my bias, place it on top of it like this, and then continue my stitch all the way to the end. Once I'm done, I'm going to just turn it over like this, you see, and this is what I'll have. So I'm going to do that on this side and close up the two sides, and then we'll come back for the bottom part. Guys, this is what we are working with. I'm not going to be making mine full length. I'm going to make it like mid calf, right? So that's the length I'm going to work with, but all you have to do is just to extend the bottom part to get the full length if you want to make yours full length. So how I was able to get the length of the bottom part here. Okay, so from my shoulder to my mid calf is going to be 46, right? 46 is the length I'm working with. So yours can be 50 something, whatever yours is, right? And then the next thing you're going to measure is from your shoulder to the shorter part, and the shorter part is the higher part of the flare, right? Like the higher parts here. So mine is going to be from my shoulder to 20 inches. You can do just 3 inches below my waist is where I want it to be. So that is 20, somewhere here, right? So now all I have to do is just to blend it from here to here, right? Cut it now. I'm also going to go ahead and cut it. But as I'm cutting it, I'm just going to bear in mind to adjust a tiny bit of seam allowance to it, like half an inch to it, right? So as I'm cutting it, I'll just have that in mind. So guys, if you look at it, you see that I didn't really cut it on the line, you see? So I just cut a little bit out of the line, just almost quarter of an inch here. So now I'm going to set this aside, and this is my bodice now. So the next thing, how you're going to determine the length here. Some people like to do their own, like let's say I went ahead to cut this on my fabric here. So that would be somewhere here. So let's say I went ahead and cut it on my fabric, that will be somewhere here. So 3 inches down from my waist, and then I'm going to connect it. You can use your free hand, you can use your ruler, and then connect it to the end of the dress like this, and then you're going to go ahead and cut, right? So you're just going to take your scissors and cut this part out. Normally, some people, when they cut it out, this bottom part that they cut out now, they will just take it like this. I use slashing method, right? So they will just use like that's why I said if you want, you can use your ruler you can use your pattern paper to draft yours. Because some people, after they cut out this lower part, let me cut it out and show you. On this end, on the end of this one, they leave half an inch. Like when they go to trace it on their fabric, they make sure to have half an inch on the bottom of this one. And then at the top of this one, where this part here will meet with, this part, will also have its own half an inch of seam allowance, right? And then another thing that they will do is that they'll go ahead and trace it, like cut, maybe you can do 2 inches in between, right? Just like that. And then slash and spread it. Just take your fabric, slash each of them like this, and then spread it out. You understand? But I'm not going to be doing that on my own here. I'm not going to be doing it. What I'm going to do instead is that I'm just going to use my free hand to cut it, right? So I already know where this one is going to start from, or on this here. I know that I want it to be, guys, instead of doing that, this is what I did for my own. I just, instead of placing it like this now and then using the slash method and just like let me show you what you would normally do here. So once you slash it, you can go ahead and number it all the way to the other end, right? And then you can number it as 1, and then 2, and then 3, and then 4, 5, just like that, all the way till you get to the end, just like this. Spread it out and then cut it in this order, right? This one being at the very end, next to this one, next to this one, next to this one, next to this one, just like that. But I'm not going to do mine like that. What I'm going to do instead is that, let me show you first of all how I folded my fabric and how I determine the amount of fabric I'm working with here. I just placed my tape from my shoulder here. I already know, like I told you, I want my dress to be 46 inches. I placed my tape here. I know that the end of this dress here is at 20.5 or 20. So all I did was just to tell myself, okay, that means I need to make sure that on this side here, which is the longest part of the cloth, I need to make sure that I have up to that 46 that is going to be my length when I'm done, right? And that is exactly what I have here. And then 1 inch of folding the end of the cloth. So I have exactly my length using this upper one, right? And then at the lower part, I already know that the length I started out with on this side here, which is the longer one, is my shoulder to my waist, on my hip, which is at 26 or 26.5. So all I have to do is that on this other side now, I'm going to come down by 26. On this side, come down by 6, right? So if I place my tape again, the beginning of this is at 20, this one here is at 26. That's what I'm going to mark, or just place it here and mark just the 6 inches, right? I'm not going to mark 0.5 because the 0.5 will serve as my seam allowance. So all I have to do is that from this side here, and another thing I did is that I made sure to, if you look at it now, you see that it's form of a circle, right? Let me show you from the bottom part here. I've already hemmed my clothes, right? So I hemmed it here, folded it into 2, which this center seam here is going to be my center back. And then this center front here, this other end of it is going to be my center front. So now, all I have to do is hold the 2 sides of it and fold it open again. Knowing that this part here with the opening is going to meet the back of it with the opening, yeah? You understand? So now, all I have to know is where my 2 sides will be, just like this. Let me put it back the way it was before. I just wanted to show you how the fold is, right? Now that I've marked my 6 inches like I told you, all I have to do is just to freehand it from here all the way, just like this. Just try to freehand it a little until you get to this part here. You see? So now I'm going to go ahead and cut this part out, right? Like I said, I just did 6 inches instead of 6.5. The 0.5, if I came down 0.5, that 0.5 will now serve as my seam allowance here. So that doesn't matter. I'm just going to go ahead and cut it on this line, exactly on this line, all the way to this point. And then once I'm done, I know that I'm going to gather, this is the center front. If I look at it, you see my seam at the back here. So exactly where that seam is, this part here is going to be my center front. So when I start together, I know that my center front here is meeting my center front here. The side here is meeting the side here. This side here is going to meet this side here after I cut it out. And then the two flaps at the back here will meet the 2 flaps here, which will form my zipper. So once I gather everything together, I'm going to add 1 zip at the back. So guys, this is it here. You see, I've joined it. This is the armhole here. You see lining here. This is the back. So I decided to show you guys the back first. So you see my zip here all the way. And then this is the asymmetric line here. This is my gather, the center line here. And if you're wondering how much fabric you will need to run round together, I would advise you measure from this point to this point, right? Both front and back, whatever it is. Let's say when you measure it, you get, depending on what your hip is, or if you want, you can just go directly and use your hip measurement times 3 of it or times 2.5 of it, whatever you get. Then that will be the width of the fabric. Right, I already told you how you're going to calculate the length, right? So this is mine here. Like I said, I'm not making mine a full length. This is the front here, and that's basically it. So you can decide to use different colors for yours. I just wanted to add this patch here so you guys can see this here. And then, like, let's say you want to do yours like this, you can also use, like how her own is on the thumbnail, you can also use any color that you used here as the bottom gather. But this fabric here is just 1 color, so that's basically it. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Guys, please like, share, and subscribe. Bye.